Do you struggle with headaches and have high blood pressure? Welcome back to Well Jawn Wednesdays. I'm Coach Ty, and I am here to bring you real talk about real wellness for the real you. We are in the month of February, the month of love. It's Heart Health Month, So we have a lot of exciting things to talk about today. But before I even get into the good stuff, all I want to say is go Birds, okay? Philly, the Eagles done won the Super Bowl. Okay, I'm excited. All of my other Well Johns out there that's from Philly, listen, I hope I see you at the parade Friday. Yes, I'm excited about that. As y'all can see, I look a little different. I got my Eagles on. I got my Butters on. I'm a Philly girl right now. So I'm so excited. But let's get into the stuff. Okay, let's get into the stuff. So today's show is going to be really more of a conversation because there is something that I really, really, really need us to pay attention to as people, not just women, men also. I really, really need us to pay attention to this. So we're not going to do Wellness Wisdom of the Week. We're not even going to do Tea Time with Ty today because I really need to sound the alarm on an issue that a lot of people in this country are facing that we're not paying attention to and we're not really doing what we need to do to be healthier. And that is high blood pressure. Like I mentioned, February is Heart Health Month, and there's so many conditions that people are dealing with that is affecting their heart, and it's also leading them to die prematurely because they're not paying attention to it. Whether that be if you have high cholesterol, if you have high blood pressure, also our weight. When we're overweight, that's going to cause our heart to work harder. And our heart is one of our most vital organs. We literally need it to survive, and we need it to be in the best shape as possible. And the unfortunate thing is when it comes to heart issues, a lot of them are very easy to get under control. And sometimes because we ignore things or we're not making them a priority, we're making or letting problems go on too long to the point where it gets where we can't control it anymore and we can't do anything to make it better. So my goal for today's show is to educate everyone, men and women, on high blood pressure and some of the other issues and conditions that are very common in America as it relates to the heart. So if I sound passionate, if I sound excited, it's because I really want this information to reach somebody, and I hope I can break it down in a way where you feel as if you can understand it, as if you feel encouraged. I don't want you to feel bad about any decisions you've been making. I don't want you to feel bad about any conditions that you might have. I just want you to get the knowledge and make a decision on if you want to do better. And hopefully I can give you some practical tips to do that. So let's get into it. High blood pressure, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. You may also hear of it referred to as hypertension. So if you have hypertension, that's just the same thing as high blood pressure. And normally your doctor may say that you have essential hypertension, which is when it's something going on with your diet. That means, or something going on with what you're doing on a regular basis. It could even be high stress levels that are contributing to your blood pressure. And we'll get into that. So essential hypertension, if you hear that term, that means that it's something that you're actively doing that possibly could be leading to the high blood pressure. And if you hear another word in front of hypertension, might be like secondary or primary, that might mean it's something else going on that's giving you the hypertension. So more than likely it'll be secondary. So I don't need you to get into the words too much, but I just want to educate you to tell you that if you hear the word hypertension, is literally the same as high blood pressure. What is high blood pressure? High blood pressure is when our heart is working too hard to pump blood throughout our body. And it's very important that blood gets pumped throughout our body because blood carries oxygen and so many other important nutrients that our organs and our muscles and our bones and our joints and everything needs. So if we have high blood pressure, our heart is working way too hard to get our body what it needs. And what can happen is when our heart is working too fast, it's going to now affect our arteries. Our arteries are what carries our blood and oxygen to our organs. So when our heart is working too hard, it's not doing that efficiently. So now we're getting other things that are going on. Sometimes people who have diabetes, a lot of times they also will have high blood pressure because diabetes, unfortunately, is a disease that already affects your arteries because of the sugar levels. So, unfortunately, if the diabetes is not being well controlled, it will already make the arteries a lot more weak and they're not functioning the way they're supposed to be, which is now leading to the high blood pressure. So, diabetes is another topic we'll get into, but if a lot of times it goes hand in hand. But there are a lot of people who are struggling with high blood pressure and heart issues that do not have diabetes. The tips are the same. The information is the same. It's just more critical when you have two things working against your arteries as opposed to one. What is a high blood pressure? A high blood pressure is anything over 140 over 90. Anything over 140 over 90. 120 over 80 is like perfect textbook blood pressure. Sometimes some people fall a little low, which low blood pressure isn't always good either. So if you're lower than 120 over 80, depending on your body type and your weight, it might be okay. But if you ever notice that you feel dizzy or lightheaded, especially when you get up from lying down or sitting down, then that means that you're too low. So you should probably just drink some water and increase your fluids. But that's something that, again, that's a little easier to manage. High blood pressure can be hard. So 120 over 80 is like perfect. But once you get past 140 over 90, we're kind of getting in a dangerous zone. And one thing I want to mention is that high blood pressure at times is very normal. If we're exercising, if we're excited, if we had a rough day at work, if we're stressed out, if it was a lot of traffic and we just had like a crazy day, if we check our blood pressure, normally at that time is going to be high. And that's to be expected. At that time, our body needs more and our heart is meeting the demands of whatever is going on in our body. But the problem with high blood pressure is when we're just resting. We're not exercising. We're not walking. We're not running. We're not stressed. We're not anxious. We're just chilling and our pressure is still high. That's when we need to realize and understand, okay, something is going on that is making my blood pressure high. And then we need to evaluate what that is. If you do a lot of salt in your diet, if you do a lot of seasoning, which is normally has salt, that can make your blood pressure go up right there. And I'm not going to give you all of the details of how salt and water needs to be at a good level. And I'm going to spare you those details. But sometimes if you had a salty dinner or something and it had a little more salt, that can cause your pressure to go up. Like I said, if you are stressed, if you are just going through it, it can cause your blood pressure to be high. And this is why it's important for us to really try to identify what is causing us to have high blood pressure and take care of that problem. Because there are medications that can be prescribed, but we don't want to really have to take medications, right? We don't want to have to take a pill every day when we can simply make small changes every single day that will help bring our blood pressure down. The other thing that sometimes contributes to heart issues, well, before I even go there, I want to tell you all that heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States for men and women. And I'm going to say that again. Heart disease, and there's so many different conditions that fall under heart disease, but high blood pressure over a prolonged period of time normally will give you heart disease. That is going on for half of the country. Half of the country, basically, men and women are struggling with this. And It's preventable, y'all. We're not born with it. It's not genetic. Sometimes we can have a family history of high blood pressure, but normally that's because of just family conditioning. Maybe this is what we normally eat. This is what we normally do. And another thing, alcohol. Alcohol also contributes to high blood pressure. Sometimes it could be dehydrating in the moment as you're drinking, and that's probably why sometimes you might get a headache and just not feel right because you're dehydrated. However, alcohol can contribute to things like high cholesterol, which will give you high blood pressure. And I want to give y'all a full transparent moment with me. Similar to how my doctor was able to help me out with my vitamin D deficiency a few years ago, maybe last year, I went to my doctor, my primary doctor, for my annual checkup. And she always does my blood work. She does my cholesterol levels, blood count, blood cell count. She just does all the things. She's very thorough. But one of the things I was sharing with her, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you all. I was sharing with her that I really wanted to look at my alcohol intake and make changes because I knew I drunk socially. I wasn't really a drinker at home. I didn't really need to drink at home. But whenever I was out, I was a social drinker. And I also knew that it wouldn't be one or two drinks, that if I was having a good time, I was having a good time. And I was already telling her I wanted to cut back. And to be honest, I told my doctor because I know that would have been a way for me to be held accountable. Because I can tell myself or even a friend of mine, hey, I want to cut back on my drinking. But I know if I tell my primary doctor, because we have a good relationship, she's always going to be checking in with me like, hey, did you cut back? Did you stop? So that was really my reasoning of being honest. Like, okay, this is something that's important to me that I want my doctor to know that I'm actively working on a change. So what's interesting is that during that appointment where I told her that goal of mine, we did our normal thing. She ordered my labs. I went to go get blood drawn, and my cholesterol was so high. Now, mind you, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a registered nurse, maybe a little bit, or even a wellness coach, maybe a little bit. But I've always taken really good care of my health. I've always went to my doctor's appointments. I've always went to my dentist. I've just always been very much on top of my health. So for her to tell me I had high cholesterol is like, really? Like, I was in shock, and it really bothered me because I kind of prided myself on always having really good pressure. It just made me feel good to know that I was taking care of myself. But from her telling me that, it bothered me because I'm like, wow, I never had high cholesterol before. I know through nursing school or being a nurse and going to nursing school that cholesterol is also very important to pay attention to because we need cholesterol in our bodies to help move things along. There's a good cholesterol and a bad cholesterol. However, if your bad cholesterol levels are too high, then that's also contributing to possible high blood pressure and possible heart disease because our cholesterol is literally kind of like fatty, and it deposits in our arteries where our heart can't pump the blood along the way it's supposed to because now this cholesterol is clogging up our arteries. So sometimes people have heart attacks because of that. And it kind of happens out of nowhere because, they'll just be doing their thing, moving along, thinking everything is okay. And at a certain point, the blood can't pass through, heart attack. So again, there's so many scientific and medical explanations to what's happening. But I don't need you all to know that. I need you all to know how important it is to monitor your blood pressure and make sure that you're even getting a device from Amazon where you could check your pressure at home. Some people only go get their blood pressure taken at the doctor's office. And unfortunately, there is a thing called white coat syndrome. When people come into a doctor's office and they see the doctor in a white coat, it spikes up. That's a real medical thing. So a lot of times the blood pressure in the doctor's office may not even be a real indicator of what it really is because who wants to go to the doctor sometimes? I think when you go to the hospital or the doctor, you just automatically become a little anxious, and that's normal. So it's important that we order a $20 or $30 electronic monitor or blood pressure monitor off of Amazon and check it at home and keep a log of your blood pressures. Write the date, write the time, write if it was the right arm, left arm, and just take better care of you, and don't wait till you go to the doctor for them to tell you your report, especially if you know you have a history of high blood pressure. I think nowadays we're so interested in having the latest phone, the latest car, the latest, I don't know, pair of jeans or whatever. We need to also have the latest blood pressure monitor if we know we have high blood pressure, okay? We need to take care of ourselves because all of that external stuff does not matter if the internal is not healthy and it's not well. One thing I haven't mentioned to y'all, high blood pressure is called the silent killer. And why is it called the silent killer? Because a lot of people will not know that it has become an issue until they die. If you notice you have headaches, you should get your blood pressure drawn or done. I'm sorry. Two things. You should get blood work done because we talked about vitamin D and headaches, right? But you should also get your blood pressure performed, whether that be in a doctor's office. You can order your own cuff. I don't know if some of the pharmacies like the CVS or Rite Aid still have the blood pressure monitors where you could just sit and do it yourself. I'm not sure if they still have those in the stores. But again, if you notice you're getting headaches, please, please, please get your blood pressure checked. Always, I will always recommend, please see your doctor to make sure you're also getting your cholesterol levels checked. Because if you have high cholesterol, as I did, that is no good, because if that goes on for a long period of time, where those fatty, I don't even know what to call them. I don't want to call it fat. And of course, when you go online, you can like research what is actual cholesterol, but it kind of looks like fat. Where if too much of that, again, is forming in our arteries and the blood can't get past, that's a major problem. So please check on your cholesterol. There are people who have to take medicine for cholesterol because it's been so high for so long. In my case, I literally was able to bring my cholesterol all the way down from my diet. Like I told you, I already had wanted to work on my alcohol intake. Once I saw those cholesterol levels, it seemed like it put a fire under my butt. I was like, oh yeah. And even my doctor said, you know what, Ty, I do think you actually need to cut back on alcohol. And that's exactly what I did. I was doing a lot of pork bacon. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I was doing a lot of bacon at the time. So I had to just chill out with that. I had to do a little, healthier bacon, turkey, not my fave, but I had to just make some small changes, drink more water, even exercise, y'all. We need to get moving. And exercise does not mean going to the gym and going crazy for an hour. Exercise could literally mean walking around the block a couple times, just walking at a little bit of a quicker pace than you normally would. Any movement is good. It helps blood flow better. It helps clear our mind. And I don't know about y'all, but after I work out, after I'm active, I feel amazing. I feel like I can just accomplish anything I want to. So I'm not saying exercise is getting into the gym and going crazy. Exercise is moving your body. Exercise is maybe at home, picking a room, putting on a YouTube 5-minute workout, or even just turning on some music and dancing around. Just get your body moving. We need to get off the couch. We need to get out the bed, stop scrolling on our phones, and get out here and moving around, and definitely take better care of ourselves. It's so important. So as I mentioned, some of the symptoms of high blood pressure is headaches. It can be dizziness, even though I found in my experience that dizziness or lightheadedness can be more attributed to low blood pressure. So, but of course, if you have dizziness or headaches, just get it checked in general so you know where you stand. But also, if you have shortness of breath and nosebleeds, which I don't hear too much about the nosebleeds and shortness of breath. The biggest symptom I know about is headaches. And in my practice as a nurse, there has been one where when a patient would tell me that they have a headache, immediately I'm checking your blood pressure. And if it's high, that's going to kind of give us some more information right then and there. Some other things we can do to manage our blood pressure is limit our fried foods. I also mentioned salt. Okay, I know is in a lot of families it's very normal to just, as soon as you get a meal, sprinkle salt on it. Sorry, I mean, sometimes y'all, the food doesn't need the salt. Like, did we taste the food first to see if it needs the salt before we just was shaking salt? No. So could we taste the food first before we sprinkle the salt? Because now we're just putting extra salt for no reason. Now our sodium levels are high, which is going to lead our blood pressure to be high. And we don't need that. So Let's try and put the salt down. Let's taste the food. Now, granted, your food got to taste like something. I'm not saying to eat your food bland, but there are seasonings that are also salt-free. So that's another strategy. Just swap out your seasonings for salt-free and just eliminate the salt. Drink more water. Limit our alcohol use. I'm not saying don't drink at all if that's something you participate in, but just do it in a healthier way. Instead of liquor, maybe try wine, maybe try a champagne, something a little lighter than hard liquor, which that's a whole nother conversation on how our bodies just what happens with alcohol. And I was even told recently by a doctor I work with that there's new studies coming out about alcohol being very directly related to cancer. And now they may be required to put a cancer warning label on alcohol the same way they do for cigarettes. And that's fairly new. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But yes, I'm not saying don't drink at all. Just please be mindful of it and try to just limit yourself. Same thing with, like I said, the foods, fried foods. I'm not saying don't eat it at all, but it's just limit yourself. If you know you had something a little heavier or something not that healthy for lunch, let's do something a little healthier or lighter for dinner. Let's just do some trade-offs. If you know an event is coming up or a dinner is coming up and you're like, I want to be able to eat whatever I want and not feel bad about it, let's maybe eat light throughout the day. So when we eat at dinner, we're not just overeating or possibly, again, eating things that will make our blood pressure spike, because we need to get our blood pressure under control. It's important. And during Heart Health Month, I mean, this, of course, is important every month, but it's the month of love and, our heart. And so I really want to emphasize this because we also want to teach the young people how to take better care of themselves through diet. And it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy what you enjoy. It just means we have to be a little more responsible. So that is all I have for today. Like I said, it's gonna be a little different than my last episode just because I wanted to feel like a conversation. I'm so passionate about people being healthier and more well, and physical health is just one part of that. I'm concerned with holistic health. Holistic health are all the things that make us who we are. That's our mental health, our emotional health, spiritual, even social health, how we talk to people. So it's important for us to not only get the information, do our own research. Of course, please reach out to me in the comments. Please subscribe to the page. Please follow me on Instagram and send a DM. I offer free 30-minute wellness consultations if you want to just talk a little bit about where you currently stand on your wellness journey or something that your doctor might have just told you that you just don't understand. Please reach out to me, y'all. I'm a resource and I'm an advocate, not only for women, but for men as well. And we have to have these conversations. I'm so excited to be able to spend more time with you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for choosing to listen to what I have to say. Of course, if there's any topics you want me to touch on that I have not mentioned yet, I have a lot of exciting things coming. But if there's a topic that you really want me to go over, please let me know. And I would be more than glad to do that for you. So again, thank y'all. I appreciate it. This is another episode of Well Jawn Wednesdays. I will see y'all next time. Take care and be well.